One of the things that got brought up a lot this season was the delves and the follower dungeons, which was a big introduction to the game. And one of the things that we found out the hard way, I guess, through the comments, that there are a lot of people who actually experience the game only through that type of content. They're not doing raids, they're not doing Mythic Plus. But even if those people they had some takes and saying, well, I would love to see, for example, the follower dungeons to have levels like Mythic Plus, because right now they're too easy, right? I like doing them, but I would like to progress them without being exposed to the toxicity in Mythic Plus and the fact that I have to play with other people. I would even like to see affixes introduced to the follower dungeon so I can learn how they work. And if I decide to go into Mythic Plus, now I am prepared. And I even went further there and saying, if you do this for the follower dungeons, basically they're going to be like Mythic Plus dungeons, but with AIs, with NPCs. Mm-hmm. You can even test the affixes this way, because we had some pretty bad affixes they had to fix. The orbs not being able to be soaked in many of the bosses. If you implement that in follower dungeon and the NPCs cannot handle the affix, you know that's a bad affix. And it will be a free testing, right? You can just let 5 NPCs go into the dungeon. You can run as many tests as those as you want. And you're going to find a lot of things that we then start crying when the season goes live. Oh, this is too hard, and this is not working, and this is not fair. You're going to know. You're going to know. So you're going to release the game in a better state. You're probably going to fix a lot of bugs, because you're going to find those bugs through the NPCs if you monitor them somehow, and they'll have the opportunity to do that. And then once that goes live, people will have different ways to play the game, experience the game. They could be separate progression parts, separate gear, things like that. And even if you want to, then you can use that to learn how to play Mythic Plus or even Raid, and then eventually go into those game modes.
Yeah, I like the levels for sure. I think testing affixes makes a lot of sense, and I think it brings a fun element. And like you said, to allow people to train. We had some apps come in this week, and actually quite a few of them were players that only do solo content and are starting to kind of branch out and wanted to get involved in guilds. So there's definitely a big player base that just do solo content. And so 2 things with that. Number 1, yeah, there's a player base. Number 2, that content gets chunked through, and now they're looking for more social, right? Because there's a cap to it. It's a very low cap, I think. And with not a lot of incentives on the high side of that cap, right? There's not really much to get for them pushing the 11s over and over. So I think, making it unlimited like Mythic Plus would be cool. So push it as high as you can, right? That way now you have leaderboards. They should, originally they were saying like, you don't even need the raid and you don't need to do dungeons. You can be the same item level just with delves. We'll make that come true. Allow them to actually compete. Maybe make it challenging, but let them do some of that solo content to a point where they can be competitive, and it may make that transition to Mythic Plus or to raids a little easier. Now, I will say, I did a key the other week, and there was a guy that had like 636. It was 100% crafted gear, and I invited him. I didn't really look at the Raider IO. He was 636.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, and it was all crafted gear. It was a tank, and of course, you see 36 tank, you're just gonna snatch him up. And the poor guy had no clue what he was doing, and so you will run into that. Right?
Yeah.
It happens. But I think that community should still get the opportunity to challenge themselves to super high levels, and I think that even players that don't do solo content will try to achieve some of those leaderboards because it's fun. People like leaderboards. And if there's a challenge and there's cosmetic rewards or even, other rewards, I think people would do it.